Good afternoon and good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. Looks like we have a large group of people. Thank you for attending. I hope you learned a lot this evening. We're going to keep this to hopefully just under an hour, and you'll get a lot of great information. My name is Don Crafton, and I'm the owner of Sight Reading Factory. Super happy to be here this evening and sharing the site with you. Like I said, I hope you learned something great. Okay, so a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions, in the top right of your GoToWebinar function, you should see like a little box with a question mark. You can ask any questions that you might have there, and Colleen actually will be able to answer those questions for you. If there's something that's pertinent that I may have missed, she can let me know, and and I'll announce it to everyone. Also, a couple other things I wanted to say is that as you see on our little cover sheet there, at the very bottom of it, if you haven't heard of the Sight Reading Showdown, it's a sight reading competition that we do every year for school ensembles, performing a sight reading exercise from Sight Reading Factory. It's a really fun competition. If you haven't heard of it, I encourage you to check it out. We have some past winners on there and some honorable mentions and all that kind of stuff. We give out great prizes, and it's just a lot of fun. And it always happens at the end of the year, about midway. Videos are normally due mid to end of December, so it's a good time of year. So it's srfshowdown.com. I encourage you to check that out in your time. Okay, great. I think we are ready to get started now. So let me just kind of give you an overview of what we're going to be talking about here. I've got some cheat sheet in front of me, so it kind of keeps me on task. So I apologize if I'm not looking at the camera all the time. Oh, I know one other thing I wanted to say, housekeeping. At the very top of your screen, I'm going to be sharing my screen for almost this entire thing. And if you want a larger view of the screen where it says active cameras, there's a little drop down there. You can change that. You can actually change how you want, where you want the video to be. You can completely hide the video if whoever's talking, which might be best so that it's large on your screen. But if you do want to see my beautiful face, I might recommend that you move in the camera position to the right or the left. That way that the screen is larger. The screen that I'm sharing is larger on your screen. Okay. Okay, so this evening, we're going to talk about Sight Reading Factory. First of all, a real basic overview for those of you that may have never heard about Sight Reading Factory. After that, we're going to get into how to use it basically with no student accounts. So not all of the educators that use Sight Reading Factory have student accounts, and that's fine. You can get a lot out of Sight Reading Factory without having student accounts, and we're going to show you how you can do that. The second half of the presentation, we're going to talk a lot about all the features that include student accounts. So if you don't have student accounts, I encourage you to stick around and listen to those features because I think they're pretty awesome, and it might entice you to get them. And if you want to try it out for free for like a limited time or something here at the beginning of the school year after watching this webinar, you can just let us know. We can give you a free trial to do that. Okay, so let's get started. Sight Reading Factory in a nutshell, it is a music composition engine. Let me just make sure that's looking good on the screen. Good. So Sight Reading Factory, it is a music composition engine, which means that we've basically developed an algorithm that composes music on demand. So you basically put in the parameters you want, you click a button, and it generates the music. So I'll give you a quick example of that. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a bass trombone player. Let me find that down here. Brass family, bass trombone, level 2. 4/4. I'm kind of flying through these, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea of how easy it is. Again, this is for those of you that are brand new to Sight Reading Factory, trying to learn something about it. And I hit free play, and it composes the music. So from the time I hit free play till the time you saw the music on the screen, what actually happened there was we sent a message to our servers that said, hey, I need a piece for bass trombone that's level 2, that's in 4/4, that's B flat major. And our server said, okay, just a second, and it composed it right then real quick, and then it sent it back. And you can see that happen almost instantly, that communication back and forth, right? So this piece that we're looking at, no one's ever seen it before. It is truly randomly composed right here on the spot. I know that it is sight reading. So I can confidently know that I'm going to be practicing sight reading with this, right? So I can play it through, and we'll see how I do. I could mess up. If I do, I could play it again, but of course that's not sight reading anymore. I click the next button here and I get another new one. So that one we saw now is gone forever. No one will ever see it again. We do not employ composers to write the music for us. We do not store this music. It is always just composed on the fly. Okay, so it is possible you might see the same one, but it's like if you're seeing the same one twice, you better go play the lottery. So I'm gonna hit next again, and I can keep literally doing this until my mouse falls apart, and I will never see the same exercise twice. Okay, so that's kind of what the entire site is built around, is this idea of algorithmically composed music. All right, so how can this be really beneficial to you in the classroom? So I was a band director. Some of you may know that. And when I was teaching, I really wanted to work on sight reading to improve their music literacy. For me, it was all about trying to improve their music literacy because it would have made the classroom more enjoyable for me and my students. And so I was like, I want to do a lot of ensemble sight reading with them. Well, at the time, there wasn't anything like it, which is why I created Sight Reading Factory. So the way I really wanted to use it initially was projecting it up onto a screen for my students to read, okay? So to give you a quick example of that, I'll go back, start at the beginning again. So I'm gonna start practicing. We have lots and lots of different mediums that you can choose from. Right now, I'm kind of showing what it's like practicing in a classroom with a full group. You don't have to use an ensemble. You could do rhythm only, things like that. But right now, I'm going to show you ensemble. So ensemble practice, we're going to do, I'll do unison concert band for now. And I'll do a level, again, a level 2 is fine. We'll do 4/4. We'll do B flat major, and I'll hit free play again. And let me turn off the annotations. And let me zoom back out a little bit so we get everything on the screen, and there we go. Okay, so here's a level 2. It's a full concert band piece. So the way I wanted to use this was to project this up onto a screen for all my students to read together. And I actually wanted it to be in unison so I could really hear, who's struggling and where and all that kind of stuff. So this was really helpful for me in the classroom. And again, as a band director, I have all the parts I need. I've got the C treble, the B flat, the E flat, the F, the C bass, and the percussion part. So this is one way of using it, projecting in the classroom. You can do this for choir and orchestra, and I'm going to demonstrate choir in just a moment. I did want to mention that besides projecting it onto a screen, you can also print the exercises. We don't have any problem if you want to print them, and it will print the parts. What you can also do, which I think is superior to both of those options, is live practice, which I'll be talking about a little bit later because that is a feature that requires student accounts, okay? So this is projecting it onto a classroom. So if you have a really large TV or a projector or whatever in your space, this is a great way to use it, okay? One thing I did want to mention while I'm on the screen, I'm occasionally going to mention some new features that we've added recently, or maybe some features that you might not know about. And since this is a band piece, I'll go ahead and mention a couple band-specific features here. One you may not know about and one that's kind of brand new. First of all, one you may not know about is the reverse ensemble parts. So if you are a band director, I think this is most helpful for band directors or maybe someone doing full orchestra. Imagine that I've got this large screen in my room, my band's kind of pushed up to it or whatever. And, I've got my flute sitting up front reading the C treble line. So they're craning their necks up way high to look at it. I've got my low brass and things in the back, and they're kind of trying to, stare through everyone's head, trying to see the bottom lines. Well, it's fine. It's nice being able to display this, but it's maybe not exactly a great viewing experience for everyone. So if you do reverse ensemble parts, and I'll load a new exercise, it does what it says. It reverses the parts. So now the C bass is on the top, the C treble is on the bottom, right? Everything is reversed. So anyway, so that's kind of a helpful way. If this is something you enjoy doing, projecting as a band director and your students kind of struggle, you may not know about that feature. So that's kind of a cool feature you can check out. But again, I think live practice solves a lot of these problems, again, which we'll talk about a little bit. Okay, another cool band feature that is brand new, hot off the press. If you, in the settings area to the right, okay, if you scroll down, you can choose which parts you want to display. This is actually a very popular request, especially for young band directors. They can choose which octave they want to see and even which parts are shown. So for example, let's say I don't want to see the bottom part of the F part. Okay, I just click that button and that goes away. Let's say I don't have any tuba players in my band, so I don't need to see the low tuba part. I don't need to see the high B flat part because I don't have anyone that can play up that high yet. Okay, so I'm kind of limiting the octaves as to what's seen. You can even completely take out a part. If I don't have any saxophones in my group yet, right? I can click E flat and that's gone. Okay, all right. So that's kind of a cool feature there if you want to limit the octaves and the VC parts and all that as far as what's shown. I will say that these are 4-part ensemble pieces. Okay, so if you completely remove 2 of the parts, the music might sound a little weird. You might have some open fifths and fourths and things like that. So if entire parts start being removed, some of the harmonies might start getting a little odd. Okay, which by the way, we are going to do a create your own ensemble feature. Okay, which kind of solves that. So if you do have a flute and a trombone and a drummer in your class, you can create an ensemble just for them rather than having to remove everything else here. Okay, good. So that's a band. That's kind of showing you some band features there. Reverse ensemble, removing those to VC. Let me show you choir now. So with choir is pretty cool because again, this is kind of for those of you that aren't familiar with. I'll do like a level 4. So the cool thing about choir is that you can pick the specific voicing that you want for your vocal ensemble, up to 4 voices, right? So you can do like a traditional SATB, and we have the different flavors of tenor, and you can do SSAA, TTBB, just 2 parts, SS, SAB, whatever. It's very flexible. You can kind of do whatever you want. I'll do C major. You just can't do more than 2 of the same. You can't do SSSS. You can only do 2 of one of them. So here's a 4-part exercise. This is a level 4 piece, and these sound really lovely. Matter of fact, I'll play it here so you can get an idea of how it sounds. Let's see here. Cool. So completely randomly composed chorale. And, like I said, it was composed right here on the spot. I can click this next button and it will just compose a new one. And the one we just saw was gone forever and ever and ever. So one interesting thing about the chorales, which I'm curious if any of our power users have noticed, we actually had a huge update back in the well, I guess it was a few weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where we changed how we actually compose the chorales. I think they sound a little bit different. They're a little bit more varied. I love the way they sound now. Like I said, you get a lot more variation in it. One of the reasons we did that is one of our most popular requests is to be able to customize a multiple part ensemble, okay, and that includes piano. Piano customization probably is our most popular request right now. And the way we were composing chorales before just didn't work. So we had to completely redo how we compose chorales. So coming soon, in the next couple months or so, you're going to be able to completely customize these multiple part ensembles. So that's very exciting. So you can be on the lookout for that. Okay, cool. So that's multiple part choir. You can, by the way, you saw those, you saw a little tease of those. You can turn on solfege, different annotations, right? So I can put some solfege on here and I see that. All right, I got the solfege below the notes. I can hit the A hotkey on my keyboard. All right, and I can kind of make them go away like that. So we can say, all right, we're going to sing it one time with them on, and then we're going to go back and we're going to sing it with them off, or vice versa, however you want to do it. You could have this up on a whiteboard. You can say, I'll go up and write the solfege underneath, and then you can show it and see if they're right. There's lots of different ways you can use the annotations. But we do have 3 different annotation systems, pitch names, scale degrees, and a counting system as well. Okay, ensembles. There you go. Great way to use it in the classroom with your students. And like I said, it's live practice is a really awesome way to use it. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and get into live practice right now, and then I'll jump back to some of these other things. So live practice, how is that different? So those of you that aren't familiar with live practice, if your students are one-to-one devices, Chromebooks, tablets, whatever, then imagine that your students have, if they're, if you got music stands, obviously, if you're a band director, you do. If you got music stands in your room or choir, they have a way to hold them or whatever. You can generate the exercise on your device, okay? And then the student's individual part is zapped out to their device that they have either on their stand or they're holding, okay? So this is a really great way to do ensemble music. So I got a note here that the sound might need to be a little bit louder, so I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. There we go. Okay, cool. So when I play something, we'll see if that's any better. All right, let's see. So yes, live practice. So let's demonstrate that. So the way I'm going to demonstrate this right now, I'm going to start a live practice session. And to do so, I'm going to come over here and I'll pick, I'll just do choir again. Why not? We'll do a level 4 choir exercise again. And we'll just do 4/4. We'll do C major and I'll do live. Okay, so I've now started a live practice session. Okay. Now, normally what I would do is I would share my join code with my students and they would enter this join code. But what I'm going to do for you so that you don't have to, do all that stuff, I'm going to have you scan a QR code, okay? And that QR code, that's going to allow you to, so if you have your phone handy, sorry, I want to try and get this right here. Oh, that's fine. Oh, you know what? I can close this. There we go. So if you have your phone handy, if you could scan this QR code, this will simulate you joining my live practice session. Okay, and anyone that's doing this, that's watching this recorded, not live, this will not work for you. So you don't have to worry about scanning the QR code. I did want to say that. But you can see there are a lot of people that have joined my live practice session over here. Okay, we've got over 70 folks that have joined so far. All right. And then, but what I will do for those of you that are watching this recorded, not watching it live, I'll demonstrate it on my screen. We still have a few folks joining, but we'll wait a couple more seconds here. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to move this off to the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and open up my student account. So I've got my student account set up right here. I'm going to bring up this QR code one more time so I can show you. So over here on the left side of my screen, if anyone still needs to scan it, it's right there. On this left side of my screen is a student account. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll show you what it's like to join as a student. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to click Join Live Practice. I'm going to, since I've already joined one of my teachers before, I see the name. But if I haven't, none of these names would be here, and I would enter that join code right here and click Join. But since I've already joined my teacher before, I'm just going to click Join. And I've already picked an instrument before, so there's my instrument. So you'll have to click a button that says Join Live Practice, and then you'll have to click your instrument. Okay, so here's my student that's singing soprano. Okay, and we all sing this together. So imagine this were a band piece, right? So they'd each have their instrument on their stand. The flute players would just see their part. The trombones would just see their part. All that kind of business, right? So I hit Next. Now we sight read that one through, and now I'm going to click Next. And if you look over here, it's going to update on your phones. And then it's also going to update this on the student's device over here, right? So we sing this one through, and I click Next again. And again, imagine as the band director, right? That's why I think this is really, really helpful for. Although for choir, I think it is helpful for choir as well. I'll show you something cool, choir folks. But so imagine, they have the devices on their stands, and they're seeing just their part rather than the full score that you're projecting. You don't even have to project it at that point, right? That's one of the great things about this. A great usage for live practice is if you don't have a TV or a projector in your room, this is a great way to be able to do ensemble practice. Okay, so let me show you this. This is kind of cool. So with annotations, I can still turn annotations on with live practice. Okay, so there we have it. I have the annotations on, and then what I can do is I can hit the A hotkey, and you'll notice in your device it actually turns the annotations on and off. Okay, so you can still control that with live practice. So live practice is a really, really cool way to do ensemble practice with Sight Reading Factory. So again, you've got projecting, you've got printing, and you've got live practice. If you wanted to try live practice out for free, chances are if you don't have student accounts on your, let me show you actually. Let's get back to this other view. We'll turn annotations off. And we're going to get back to this other view over here. Okay, cool. So if you don't have student accounts, chances are you might see this live button there and saying to try it out or something like that. And there is a way for you to try out live practice for free. It's like a demo. I can't remember how long it is. It might be 6 weeks or something like that. But basically, instead of you having a code to give them, you have a URL that you give them, and they enter that URL. It's a lot like a QR code, except they enter a URL, so it works on Chromebooks and things like that. Whoops. So yeah, you should be able to try live practice out for free if you don't have student accounts. So you can
Quick
check
question,
that out.
Don.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. For choir, could they see the score, the full complete score in live practice, or just the solo part?
That's what I was going to say. Yes. Thank you. see if I didn't have Colleen to keep me in track. All right, great. Thank you for reminding me of that. So yeah, so for vocal folks, this is part view. If you prefer your students to be reading from a score like the octavo view, you can change right here where it says student view parts. You can change this to student view score, and you'll notice on the student's device. Now this is I have this in a really small window, but if you can imagine this were a tablet or a Chromebook, it would actually fit just fine, right? So now that's the student view score. So if you'd rather them see it in a score view rather than part view, you can do that. And again, it refreshes each time you do it. So I'm going to go back to part view now. There we go. Okay, good. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Now let's get back to some of these other. Get back onto my. I got a little sidetracked, of course. So we talked about annotations. Good. Let's talk a little bit about challenge mode. Some of you may not have used challenge mode before. So that's one of these options here. So once you get through the mixer, we have 4 different modes for using Sight Reading Factory. Free play is kind of like it says, you're kind of free to do whatever you want. Okay, you can, and we don't really know what you're going to do. You could listen to it. You can print it. You can say, oh, I don't like that one. I want to generate another one. Again, you're kind of free to do whatever you want. Challenge mode is basically, let me do. Let's do an orchestra piece. Let's give our orchestra folks some love here. Okay, so we'll do a 3-part orchestra here. Maybe do let's do a level 2, a challenge. Okay, so with challenge mode, it's pretty much you're going to perform this piece, right? So at the top it says performance options. The question is, when are you going to perform it? The default is you're going to get a 30-second timer, and then it's expected that you start performing it. So there'll be a countdown timer, a lot like taking an assignment on our site. There'll be a countdown timer, and then it clicks you off, and then you start. So if you have your students preparing for auditions or maybe ensemble assessment where they have a limited amount of time to study the music, you can use challenge mode. There's some other really cool ways to use it too, which I'll show you now. So you have these different options for challenge mode. You can have a metronome track on or off. You can have a cursor on or off, disappearing measures on or off. You can have it record them. You can listen back. You can have the synth audio play with them if you want, all sorts of things. I'm going to just put the disappearing measures on and show you what that's like. So here's my countdown timer, right? So I have a 30-second countdown timer. So in 30 seconds, I've got to start. I'm going to get these 4 prep beats, and then I'm off to the races. So with the disappearing measures, the way this works is it actually, the measure will disappear after the student has played it, so that they don't look back. A lot of students, when they make a mistake, they want to look back at their mistake and they want to try it again, right? At any point, if I were ready, I could have clicked ready. It would just skip the rest of the time, and then it would have gone. But obviously, I waited the whole time. Here we are. So it's counting off. So it's starting. So we're playing, and then the measure is going to disappear, right? So that's the idea. That's disappearing measures. And again, you have that countdown timer, which sort of, puts the pressure on the kids. Like, all right, we've got a limited amount of time, and you can practice like, the shadow bowing or whatever, or, you're silent practicing. So it's a great way to kind of simulate that audition, that assessment environment that your students may need. Okay, so another cool way of using the disappearing measures feature. This isn't built in, but you can actually use it like this. If you tell your students to wait a measure, okay, and don't start right away, the measures will actually disappear as they're supposed to play it, and it actually forces them to read ahead in the music, okay, which is what good sight readers do, right? They're actually looking ahead. They're always looking ahead in the music. So I'll hit retry here. So this is another great way of using it. So I'll be looking at the bass part, of course. So we aren't going to start now. Do not start now. Now we're going to start. Bum, 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 bing, bum, 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 2, 3, da, 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 da. So I think that's a really, really cool way to use the site. I encourage you to check that out. And it will, I think you'd be amazed at how quickly that you see progress with your students. There was one user that is so excited about that feature. He actually, I'm not joking, he actually wrote a dissertation on just that feature there. So yes, definitely check it out. I think it's a really, really cool way to use the site, and you could see some massive student growth with that. Okay, cool. So that's challenge mode. All right, let's talk about customization. And by the way, a lot of these features I'm talking about right now, this is all just classroom practice with your students. I am going to be getting to the student features, where you can give them assignments, assessments, things like that, look at practice logs, all that kind of business. But I'm just I wanted to give you different ways if you want to use it in the classroom with your students. Okay, so moving right along with customization. All right, and this is customization on the fly. This isn't creating custom levels for your students. That's a little bit of a distinction, which we'll talk about later, again with student accounts. But yeah, so I'm going to be customizing something on the fly. Now, one thing I did want to mention for any of you that may be teaching, or if you know anyone that teaches really young students, beginners, right? When I taught, I was a beginning, well, at least for maybe 5 years that I taught, I was a beginning band director. Absolutely loved it. I love teaching that age. I thoroughly believe that you can start sight reading with students at any age, right? Well, as long as they can actually kind of read, right? Read words. So I used to start my students in 4th grade, and within like 3 weeks, we were sight reading. Let me give you an example. So level 1 obviously is too hard. And I used to use the Standard of Excellence book. So and the way that starts is with whole notes. So what I would do, by the way, I don't know if you saw what I did there. I did unison concert band. You can do this with unison choir and unison string orchestra as well. Can't do it with multiple part yet. Again, like I said, that is going to be coming. So I'm doing unison concert band. The first thing they learned was whole notes. I'm going to do whole notes. And then they had a range of B flat to D. All right, concert B flat to D. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see exactly what I did there. If you notice, it kind of shows the master ranges here, or rather not, this is the master range, but it shows you all the different ranges down here. So as I move this master range, all the other ranges move with it, because this is unison, right? So everyone has to have the same range. Okay, that's about, I think, where I had it before. Okay, for, leap size doesn't really matter for these guys. It's just 3 notes anyway. Doesn't have to start on tonic. I will be talking about setting custom leaps, though. It's a pretty cool feature, and we'll do free play. So obviously, this is a very simple exercise, right? However, I would use this like basically as soon as the students could make a sound, hold their instrument, and read the first 3 notes, and they got through that first page of Standard of Excellence, I was sight reading with them on this. This isn't obviously really hard, but for them it was, right? When they're first learning, learning how to read these notes and all that kind of business. So yeah, what fingerings to push down, all that kind of. So this was great for them. And then the next week, once we knew, we knew another rhythm, we now know half notes, and we know up to concert E flat, and we're going to generate that exercise now. So now we've got this. And the next week we know quarter notes, and we know quarter rest and half rest, and we know up to concert F, and now we're going to generate that exercise. Okay, so it's really, really powerful. You can have this move along with whatever curriculum that you use with your students. You can have this move right along with them. And the cool thing about this is you can actually save these configurations. So, I spent some time setting this up. Didn't take a long time, but I did set some time doing it. And I know that each year I'm going to do the same thing, right? As a beginning band director, I'm going to do the exact same thing year in, year out. So I can come over here and I can say, okay, I've got this custom unison concert band thing. I'm gonna hit the little star button here, and I'm gonna call this Standard of Excellence Week 4. I'm gonna save that. So then over here, these are my recent exercises. I'm gonna go over here to my saved exercises, and I'm gonna look for that. There it is right there, Standard of Excellence Week 4. Now all I have to do is just click this button, and it's gonna launch that exercise. Okay, so I encourage you to check that out too, these recent exercises and saved configurations. If you find yourself, setting these up and you use them regularly, save them. Just go to your recent and find the last one you generated, click the star button, name it, and it'll be right over there. And then when you're done with it, you can hit that little trash icon and it'll go away. In fact, we'll do that now because I don't need that one. Okay, so there we go. So that's some customization stuff. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about with customization? Yeah, so let's talk about using this with rhythm only. Well, it's not rhythm only, but being able to customize the rhythms further, okay? So I am going to use rhythm only for this, by the way. So instead of doing, all right, let's say this. Let's say I'm just introducing 16th notes to my students, okay? So I'm going to do quarter notes and half notes, and they already know those. I'm going to do 16th notes and 8th notes. So basically, we're adding 16th notes on, okay? And let's say I want to start with just 4/16 notes at a time. So I generate this music and I'm like, whoa, what's this? I'm getting, eighth notes followed by 2/16. They're not ready for that yet. I just want 4/16 notes, okay? So what I can do is I can come over here and I can switch to advanced mode selection, okay? And now what this shows me over here for these different time signature groupings, right? This shows me what possible rhythms would be created with the options that I have over here. So I don't want those, so I'm not going to check those. So I just want that one, that one, that one, and this one. And I don't want those. So now when I generate the music, I'm going to get exactly what I want here. Okay, I've just got those 16th notes and nothing else. Okay, so you can check that out again. You can let your imagination run wild there. So again, that's advanced rhythm selection and standard rhythm selection for customization there. All right, if you do advanced, it's a little bit more of a nerdy view, right? But it's highly customizable. You can pick the exact rhythm groupings that you want to use. Okay. All right, let's see here. All right, let's also talk about customization. This is a great feature for vocalists. So this is the custom leaps feature. So I'm going to come back down instead of picking our stock level. I'm going to pick. I'm going to actually, let's see here. Let's get rid of 16th notes, and we'll do this right here. Okay, we'll do easy. There we go. All right, so now let's say I'm thinking of a range for this vocal piece I'm doing. I'm going to go low C major, low T to La. Okay, B to A is what I'm thinking. I could do leaps of a third, but let's say I want to work on, that's too much. I don't want them doing T to Re, Re to T, Re to Fa, Re to, Fa to La, that kind of stuff. I want them just kind of focused on the tonic triad, right? So what I can do instead of doing maximum leaps of a third, because that really can give me any of those leaps of a third, I can do custom leaps, all right? And I can add a leap, and I'm going to just outline the tonic triad. I'm going to go 1 ascending to 3. We're going to add another one. We're going to go 3 ascending to 5. And I'm going to add a leap of a fifth down, actually. We're going to go to 5 descending to 1. Okay, so I've got these custom leaps. And I'm going to say I must start on tonic. I'm going to hit next. We'll do, whoops, not 2/4. We'll do 4/4. And we'll do C major. And we'll hit free play. So now I have this custom exercise, okay, that has only the leaps I want. So let's find them. There's a leap, C to E, E to G, G down to C, C to E, E to G, G down to C, okay? And notice that everything else is stepwise. I don't have any leaps that I don't want, right? So I was able to customize the rhythms I want, the exact leaps I wanted, right? The range that I wanted. Notice it stays within my range. So yeah, with customization, really, it's wide open. There's so many different things that you can do. You can make it really hard. You can also make it really easy. Like if your students are just starting to sight read, you can make a 2-note range of just quarter notes, just so they can just practice going back and forth between 2 notes and just seeing those 2 notes. Then expand it to 3 notes. It's like it really is. You can really use this with a wide age group of students, or ability rather. Okay, cool. And let's see here. Okay, great. Now we're ready to get into some of the student accounts feature. I see that we already talked about live practice. So let's get into auto assessment. So auto assessment, actually, if you don't have student accounts, is something you have on your account and you can play with. So so for example, and that, your students can, use your computer to try it out, or you can try it out yourself or whatever. But if you want your students to try it out on their own devices, and so that you can give them assignments, you do need to get student accounts. So the first thing I'm going to do is give you an example of the auto assessment feature itself in a practice session within a practice session, because your students do have the ability to just practice and be auto assessed themselves and not submit a grade to you or anything, but just kind of for their own benefit. So I'll show you that now. So let's pretend like, let's just pretend like I'm a student, okay? I can come over here. I'm going to pick my voice type. I'm going to sing for you, and it's not going to be pretty. It's probably going to be sharp. And I'm going to do auto assessment. I'm not going to have disciplinary measures on. And I'm not going to make you listen for 8 measures, nor that slow. We'll do like 94. Oh, we'll do 90. Okay, great. So I'm going to get hopefully this isn't too loud. I turned up the volume in Chrome. I apologize if this blasts your ears. Okay, cool. All right, so I got my opening pitch. I can click this button if I want to find out what tempo I'm going to be. Okay, we got that. I'm sure I'm going to be sharp, but I'm going to try anyway. Here we go. So I got my get ready. It's going to count me in. Do, ti, do, mi, sol, la, sol, mi, do. Okay, good. About what I thought. Oh, actually it was flat on a note. All right, awesome. So let me show you. We have different grading strictnesses, okay? So this is one of the really cool things about our auto assessment feature is that as an educator, the students can actually, when they're practicing, they can see the different grading strictnesses on their own. But as an educator, you can actually set that for them. So let me talk a little bit about the different grading strictnesses that we have. Lenient does not care about intonation and does not care about rhythmic errors, like if you start a little bit late, end a little bit early, blah, 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 like all those kind of things, right? And pretty much if you're on the note and you're on the rhythm, you're good to go. Okay, even if you're kind of close to the note, you're good to go. All right. Another thing about lenient is it's nicer if you miss a note and you're close to the note. Okay, so if you're like a half step or a whole, and that counts if you're a half step or a whole step away, it doesn't grade you quite as hard. All right. Matter of fact, let me see if I can. Yeah, I'm going to do this one again. I'm going to miss a note. I'm going to miss two notes. Whoops, let me stop. I forget my pitch. Okay. Do, ti, do, re, sol, la, sol, re, do. Oh, that was bad. Okay. Okay, good. So let's see, did I miss two notes? Yes, I missed the notes I wanted to miss. Great. I will bring this back up. So here's a great example. So lenient says I missed two notes. Not bad. There wasn't a lot of notes. I missed two. I still got an 89%. Pretty good. That's pretty lenient. Moderate gets a little bit more moderate and now picks up a rhythm problem and it picks up 4 intonation problems. It's still kind of nice about the notes I missed because they're close to the note. They're a whole step away, but it's not as nice as lenient, okay? And now strict, notice we went all the way down to a 70, right? Picked up, oh, it didn't pick up any more intonation errors, okay. But it did pick up another rhythm error and a great, now wrong note, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you're a half step away or 4 octaves away, wrong is wrong. Okay, that's strict. All right, so now let me show you something else pretty cool. We'll go to moderate for this. Okay, so this is what it looks like kind of in simple view. I'm gonna zoom in some, okay? So this is what it looks like kind of in simple view. All right, it's kind of like your red note, green note thing, right? Shows you some stuff above it. You can hover over it. It gives you some guidance over what you did wrong. All right, but you can also click this magnifying glass icon. This is really, really cool. This is what we call the piano roll or the MIDI view, okay? And this shows you, it's a really detailed view of what was expected and what you did, okay? So these blue outlines here, this is what we call the witness. It's what we expected, okay? And then the colored bars, that's what we heard, that's what we detected, okay? And then the little white line in the middle, that's the intonation, that's the pitch, okay? So that kind of gives you a little idea of this view. So I think this is a really cool view. So we have, and you can actually listen back. So I can listen back here. I'm not sure how this is going to sound for you, but do, ti, do, definitely sharp. Sol, la, sol, re, do. Okay. So notice it plays back with the synth. It's synced up with that. So the student can visually and aurally, right, hear and see, right, how they did. So I think, again, really, really cool feature. Definitely check that out. We're going to zoom back out to there. Great. All right, awesome. I did want to mention a couple other things. Last year, for most of last year, we did not have rhythm only auto assessment. We do have rhythm only auto assessment now. And just to show you what that looks like, I'm going to do auto assessment. We're going to click start. And that's really hard. I'm only going to do 4 measures. And notice that you're supposed to tap for this one, right? You can see it highlighted as I'm tapping. All right, cool. All right, so strict, let's see if I did. Oh, okay, good. All right, so Yeah, so rhythm only, this is what it looks like. It showed me exactly. So it records key presses, and it does matter how long you hold the key down. This does work on smartphones. So when they tap the screen, it does work on a smartphone. Okay, that's rhythm only. We also added just this summer, I don't know how many piano teachers may be listening, or if you teach, or if you're a classroom teacher and you teach piano class or a group piano class, we do have piano auto assessment now. I will demonstrate that really quickly. I'm going to do auto assessment. This does require MIDI. I do want to point that out. This is not acoustic auto assessment. This is MIDI auto assessment. Hope you hear that. Got a little piano keyboard here. And whoops. Well, I don't care about intonations. I mean, that I care about measures. There we go. All right, so we're going to hit start. So yes, we do have piano. Notice I didn't try to do anything with hands together. I'm not going to embarrass myself on the webinar. Okay, and again, same type deal, which shows you, the piano view and all that. But we do have piano auto assessment. So if you have like a group class with MIDI keyboards, you can do that. Yeah, cool. So we've got that. I did want to mention that. Okay, great. Let's get into assignments and all that. Now, with student accounts, we do have different LMSs. I want to mention that first of all. We have our own Sight Reading Factory LMS, learning management system. We have our own built-in LMS, and I think it's great. We've worked for many years to make really a first-rate LMS. Okay, so you can manage your classes. You can sign up your students. You can manage them here. You can create assignments. We have built-in gradebook. We've got the practice log, all this kind of stuff. So we have our own nice built-in LMS. However, we also are integrated with many other LMSs. And those include Canvas, Schoology, Google Classroom, MusicFirst. Those are sort of the LMSs with gradebooks, right? We have two other integrations we have that aren't gradebook related, but you can integrate with them. They're SSO integrations. That's Clever and Classlink. Okay, so Clever and Classlink basically uses the SRF LMS. Okay. What we call the SURF LMS. That's what Classlink and Clever use. And actually, Google Classroom does to a certain extent as well. But Canvas, Schoology, and MusicFirst, they use their own LMS. But I'm not going to get into all that. I just wanted to let you know that we do have those options. If you want to if you use one of those LMSs and you want to integrate Sight Reading Factory with it. Okay, moving on. So you can put your students into classes. You can create assignments for them. It will grade them. And and that grade will automatically go into your grade book. So give you an example of how that works. I'm going to go to so let's say I've created my class. Okay, I've given my students the sign up code. This is only really if you're using Sight Reading Factory Learning Management System. There's a code that you give your students, and then they go and they redeem that code, and then they sign up, and then they're in. Okay, if you're using any of the other LMSs, you don't need to worry about all that business. It's a lot easier to get them signed up. That's one of the advantages of using them. Okay, so assume I've got them in class, they're already signed up. Now I'm going to create an assignment for them. All right. So create an assignment, what classes it's going to be for. It's going to be for my concert choir. It's going to be, I can never think of anything creative. It's going to just have today's date. Okay. What instructions that you're going to have when they sign up. The number of attempts that you're going to allow them to have. Basically, once they do an attempt, let's say you allow unlimited attempts. Once they do an attempt, if they mess up really badly and they try another one, it generates a new exercise. They can't just keep trying the same one twice. So I think it's kind of okay to, I mean, this is my opinion. You can do whatever you want, to allow them to do more than one attempt, because if they're trying more than one attempt, they're practicing. Hey, and I'm a happy teacher. But you can limit it. If you want to say you only get one attempt or 5 attempts or whatever, you can do that. And then at the end of that last attempt, they can't do any more. They have to submit, or you have to reset it for them. Okay. Obviously, we have to have the due date. Now, here's where you can turn on auto assessment. You don't have to turn the auto assessment feature on for them. You can. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to use that. So I'm going to turn it on. And then here's where you can set your grading strictness. Okay, I'm going to do moderate. And now here's where you can totally get into configuration. I'm going to do Sight Reading Factory level. We'll do level 3. You can also create custom levels. I'll try to get into that at the end of this webinar. But I've created, you can see all these right here. I've created a bunch of different custom levels. But you can create your own custom level and then attach them to the assignment. And that's the custom level they have to use rather than using one of our stock levels. Okay, you pick a key signature for them, or you can let them choose. This is very, very flexible how you want to do this for them. You can set the number of measures, how fast you want them to do it. I do recommend, if doing auto assessment, I highly recommend having the metronome track on. Timing is very important. Our site, our auto assessment feature does not try to listen and follow the student and figure out where they are. It's very rigid. So it expects, to kind of stay on tempo. So if the student gradually slows down over time, we're not going to go, oh, we can tell you're slowing down, Now it's going to be like, actually, by the end of the piece, you were 2 beats behind, and we're going to show it. So I do think it's important to have the metronome track on. Note cursor, it says it's recommended for auto assessment. As it says, I think it's recommended for younger students having the cursor on, but again, you don't have to have it. Any of these other things that you want to have on there. Okay, I'm going to hit save. All right, so I've created this assignment. Now, as my student, which I'll flip over here, I could come over here and I could take this assignment. Okay, so if I go, sorry, let me make this a little bit bigger here, zoom in some. Come over here as a student, make this full screen. All right, and I'll look for this assignment. It's going to be somewhere down here. There it is. Is that today's date? Yeah. So this is the student now, so I can come over here and say, okay, great. This is going to be the assignment, start assignment. It does. If this is the first time, they'll have to do a little a test to make sure that auto assessment works on their device. Right now, it's basically doing a little test assessment in the background to make sure that it works. There we go. Of course, it normally doesn't take this long. It wants to take this long in the actual webinar. Okay. Yes. Okay, continue. Great. Okay, so, and then it's going to do a microphone test, which I'm going to skip. This is important for students. We recommend they do not wear headphones. They turn the volume up and they minimize the background noise. Minimizing the background noise, they're all super important, but basically we use those prep beats at the beginning when it goes click, 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 click. We use that to sync up the assignment, the student's recording with the master, okay? If there's a lot of noise during the prep beats, then we can't sync it up and the student won't get accurate results. So it's important that they stay quiet during those prep beats. Okay, so I can get my pitch here. You may not hear that actually. Actually, this, let's see here. Yeah, we'll do that. Allow, there we go. I have no idea how this is going to work. It's not going to work because I have a weird microphone going on. Anyway, I should have done this in Chrome. Regardless, the student records this, okay?
Hey, Don, sorry to interrupt. We can't hear you at all. We still can't hear you, Don.
How about now? Do you hear me?
Now we hear you. All
Great.
good.
Okay. I'm going to try and switch back. Do you still hear me? No?
Yes, we can hear
You
you.
hear me? Okay, great. All right. Firefox hogged my microphone. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh no, I didn't get my pitch. Do, mi, do, ti, do, re, mi, sol, sol, mi, do. Hey, I kind of started on the right note. Okay, cool. Very good. So student took this. It says it has not been submitted. I can listen back to it, of course, but I think it's great. I'm ready to go. They see their grade and they submit it. Now I'm going to come back over here, log out as the teacher. Log out as a student, log back in as the teacher. Okay. And now I go over to assignments. I find the assignment that I just did. Here we are. Here's the assignment. I can see that Mary Mendelson, that was a student, submitted. I got a 93. I can click update to view it. Okay, I can see the exact music that the student got. I can see the piano roll to see how they did. I can listen to it. I can actually mess around with the grading strictnesses to see what Mary would have gotten with the other strictnesses. Okay, and I can actually change it as well. If I think Mary did a great job, then I can come over here and I can give Mary a 100 and say, just kidding, I'm going to override that. I'm going to give you 100, Mary. Okay, so with the auto assessment, that grade goes right into your grade book. Again, if you're using Canvas, Schoology, MusicFirst, Google Classroom, it goes right into those grade books as well, and you can also change them there. So auto assessment, really cool feature. Definitely check that out. We're running out of time here. I want to close up in the next few minutes in case there's some questions. So if you have any questions, you can leave them in the like I said, the questions section, and we'll answer them here at the very end if Colleen hasn't already been answering you. So one other thing I wanted to mention is the practice log. So if you check out the practice log here, this used to not be available for Canvas, Schoology, and MusicFirst, but it is now. So this lets you see all the practicing that your students have done. It's done by week. Okay, you can see the number of exercises they've done, as well as how long they practiced. Okay, so the practice log I think is very cool. And it's a way to kind of do a real low level assessment, right? Like go home and practice 20 exercises this week for 20 minutes and you can kind of see who's doing it, right? If you want, to get more involved, then obviously you can get into the assignments feature and all that. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, I mentioned some nerdy features earlier, and this is one of them. This is the custom levels feature, super powerful. This is a lot like that customization on the fly where you can pick, the range and the rhythms and all that kind of stuff. The difference here is that you make this custom level and then you can use it for an assignment and you can use it for practice setting if you want to limit what your students can actually practice, okay? So for example, I can come over here, I can create a new level. Again, can't think of anything creative. It's going to be called 820 level. And it's going to be just quarter notes, eighth notes, and quarter rest. Why not? All right, and then I can come over here and I can say, do I want one of these attributes? No, I need to add some instruments to it. Let's say again, I'm going to do this for band. So I'm thinking about written ranges. I'm going to think about instruments that have the same written range. So I know B flat soprano clarinet's going to have it, B flat bass clarinet's going to have it, B flat trumpet is going to have the same, euphonium, treble clef. I'm forgetting, maybe horn too, right? So we're all going to have the same written range of like C to G, all right? So we've added that, and then I'm going to add some bass clef instruments in here. We're going to say trombone bass clef, euphonium bass clef, and where's bassoon? Bassoon bass clef. They're all going to have the same written range, B flat to F, all right? So here we go. So I can do more. You got the idea. So they're all going to use these rhythms, but each instrument's going to use this range, and I need a leap style. I'll do leaps of a fifth. I could do custom leaps like we showed earlier, but I'm just going to do that. I'm going to save the level now. So now I've created this level, 820 level. So now I can go over to this assignment that I did, this 820 assignment. Come on. There we go. I can edit it. And instead of doing that stock level, I can come down here and find my 820 level. There it is right there. And now this assignment is going to use that level. So when I'm going to try it, which is kind of using it, demoing it as a student, notice it really limits my instrument selection. I don't have that large list of instruments to pick from. So this is also a really cool way to limit the instrument choices your students have. If you're worried about them picking something that they don't need to pick, if you only have it set for one instrument, let's say you just make a custom level for sopranos, well then it's going to automatically pick soprano for them. So that's a really cool way to skip the instrument picker as well. Okay, but I'm a trombone player, so I'm going to do trombone bass clef. picks everything else for me for this assignment. I'm going to hit start, and we're going to skip the mic check. And here we are. And it has a range of B flat to F, but we're in the key of C major, so that's a little strange. But still, this lets you have the idea. So again, so I was able to create this custom level and then use this for my assignment. And actually, the really cool thing is these levels can be shared with your colleagues. So if you make this really cool curriculum of custom levels and you want to share it with your colleagues, you can hit this button here at the bottom, over here, the three buttons, and click share, and it pulls up this ID. You click copy, and it copies the ID, and then your friend, when they go to the import button, they paste in the ID and click import, and then that custom level you created is imported into their account. So it's a really cool way to share levels. If y'all come up with a sight reading standard in your county or whatever, and you want to, and you want everyone to practice on that, you can do that. So anyway, so that's custom levels. Let's see my cheat sheet here. Yeah, I did want to mention real quick about the QR code thing that I used. The QR code for live practice, that is only for this demo. Students will not be using QR codes to join. They use a join code, just to be crystal clear about that again. And again, I wanted to mention the Sight Reading Factory Showdown for any of you that may be new to the site. Check it out. Matter of fact, I'll just show it real quick. Colleen's yelling at me right now. Showdown.com. Yeah, it's fun. Check it out. You can see our past winners. There's videos, and it's just really cool. You can see the prizes that they get and all that kind of stuff. It's fun. Check it out. Okay. Colleen, any questions that we should answer?
There were no questions in the question box over there, but I was just going to say, do you have any tips for anyone who does AP music theory, guitar classes? You did talk on group piano, but I know we have some of that, and also maybe even elementary teachers, if you have any tips for any of those teachers.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So, well, I'll start with elementary teachers, and I see some raised hands. I'm not sure if the raised hands are questions. Oh, I do see some questions maybe. I see a bunch of questions over there, by the way. So I can try to look over those real quick. But yeah, as far as elementary goes, you're going to live with customization. Okay, so you're going to customize rhythm only things, really simple voice things like that. So yeah, so definitely use the customization feature and just make it as simple as possible. Guitar class, if you teach a guitar class, a really cool way to use it in a guitar class is actually using the multiple part choir feature. Do like SSAA. You can do either really hard stuff or really easy stuff, but your guitar, it's all treble clef, so they can read that. If you got basses in the class, you could do like SSAB or something along those lines. So absolutely, you can use it in guitar class. Let's see here. You also mentioned, well, there was another one I can't. But let me look at some of these. Let me look at some of these questions over here. Yes, there will be a recording. The presentation will be saved. What else do we have? Student account pricing. Yes, student accounts are as low as $3 per student. Go to our website. We don't hide our pricing. You can generate a quote. There's no haggle. You just go in there, generate a quote. You can see what it is. Go to our pricing page and click generate a quote. Someone asked how I remove the solfege. The A hotkey, the A on your keyboard, toggles off the solfege. The program is so unreal. Hey, thanks, appreciate that. Let's see here. Oh, class color is customizable. Cool. Let's see. Trying to see if there were any other questions in there. Okay, cool. I think that's good. If you have any other questions, I know there's a lot of questions that we didn't get into, but yeah, I think we're about ready to run out of time. So yeah, as far as someone asked about limiting the length of the exercise, that's in the gear icon. If you click the gear, if you generate music and what is this? And you click this gear icon, you can change how long the music is over here. So anyway, yeah, thank you all so much for attending this evening. I really appreciate it. If you have any other questions, obviously there's probably lots of questions that we didn't get to. I apologize. Please feel free to email us. We have the world's best support person. Her name's Nancy DeLema, and she's a little busy this time of year, but she will get back to you very quickly. And again, really appreciate all your time showing up this evening. and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.